All right, the couple things I just wanted to add to this is that this program here is one giant long main function. And I don't like that. And that's, again, further away from .NET now. This is this solid C# stuff. In fact, everything I've been doing so far for this has been C#. So actually, I guess you could probably argue that StreamWriter is probably .NET. But anyway, I want to remind us that what we do have that power, right? When we can kind of see definitive sections here of code that we can just strip out. We can highlight the code. We can go and hit the Control plus and refactor it out. So at this point, I'm going to call this thing write or read poem. Now it made some bad guesses, and that's all they were. They were guesses. It's assuming I want to return the poem line. If you look at it, no, I don't want to return the poem line. I am, oh, it's the text out, Grant. Okay, phew. Here's my read poem. I want to actually, in a perfect world, I don't want to return the poem line. I'm going to return the poem. So let's go copy, make sure this thing's actually doing what I want it to do. I want it to return the poem. That means, by the way, that it's actually going to be returning not a string, but a list string. So, and I don't really care about this poem line. So I'm going to pull out the poem line. And now it's just mad at this, which is fine. You know what? And again, this whole variable, I don't even need it. I'm going to take this whole read line thing. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to put it right there. All right. So now I don't even need that at all. So I've simplified my stuff. Oh my goodness, what's going on here? There's there. Oh no. Oh yeah, of course. It's taking in a list of strings, which is calling poem. All right. Are we good now? Okay. So that's what that looks like. This guy's going to return a poem. So if I go back up to where I call it, it's going to return a poem. It's going to take in the iPath and a poem. And I think now we're all good. So now I've basically refactored this bit of processing out. I'm going to do the very same thing for this whole processing poem idea. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to highlight it, I'm going to hit the Control, and I'm going to refactor it. Boom, this guy's going to be called display poem, because that seems to be what he's doing. Display poem. Nothing really too hard to guess at for this one. I think this guy's doing fine. Yep, takes in the poem and he's going to basically print it out. And then down here with his output, highlight that and do the Control period and click on this dude, and this guy will be write poem. And I think it's okay to have basically OPath poem and whatever. So I'm going to go apply. All right, so first of all, let's just make sure that actually works. So this guy is magic. He just worked. Awesome. Next thing we're going to do is what happens if the file's not there. So first of all, please notice, like, look at how simple this is now. I've got an input, processing, output. And in fact, the way those guys are named, I can just kind of get rid of even that. I mean, it's kind of self-documenting here. Poem is going to be read poem, display poem, and then write poem. Right, that's it. I would think that this variable should be defined outside, and then I guess I don't mind necessarily these things being defined outside. They are still local to the main. They're not sitting outside as class variables like we actually have been doing for quite a bit, which I'm feeling a little bit twinge of shame about, but maybe we'll fix that later. All right, so now we want to basically, what's the word I'm looking for? Deal with errors. So I'm only going to look at one at this point. I'm going to take the Horace file. I'm going to name it Horace2. So if I take Horace2 and I run it, it gets me an exception. There's our fabulous exception. You think that we don't have to talk about them anymore? Nope, we have to talk about file exceptions. So that's a file exception. So what would be great is if I kind of trap that in a controlled way. And this is a really good example of that propagation thing I was trying to bring up earlier. Oh, I do not like the alignment here. Come on, there we go. So I'm going to basically say, can you try, would you mind trying to open this poem? like just try to do that read poem thing. And so I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to basically say catch. And if you catch, and I could just copy paste, but it's going to know what these are. There's a file not found exception is what it was. If you actually find a file not found exception, then for goodness sakes, tell us about it. So console, console write line. And I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to basically say iPath bus not found. All right, not found. Good deal. Now I'm going to run it. And it says can't find it. And then I guess it just kept going. Now that was probably not the best move because as it went going, it kind of wiped out the file, I think. Yeah, it did. It wiped out Horace because what it did is it went in, it displayed nothing because nothing was in poem, but then it went out here and it reached out. Is that the read? Where's the write? It reached out and clobbered it. Now that's kind of sad. I don't want to just lose the previous run just because this current run is blowing up. So instead, what I'm going to do is something that I constantly did in the Python class, but I'm going to do it here. I'm going to make sure you guys are at least aware of the idea of what I call a good to go Boolean value, which I'm going to assign as true. And so what I'm going to say here is if you basically have a problem, write out to the console, and then good to go is going to be assigned false because it's not good to go anymore. And so a poem line is getting me mad. And so now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say if good to go is true, and remember that I seem to have a blind spot when it comes to these parentheses. All right, if good to go is true, then go ahead and display and write the poem. All right. All right, here we go. Okay, this irritating me. Get rid of that, and then go. So go, and oh no, you apparently that didn't work. Okay, who's mad? What are you mad at? Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. All right, private. Oh, I must have gotten rid of the last the last parentheses in my haste there. All right, so if good to go is true, then do all that. I could have put an else, like saying else is a problem, but why bother? So I'm going to do that. And it basically gives me the error message, and then there we go. Now, if I put Horace back and run it again, it worked. Horace 2 now has data, or Horace out, I should say, now has data. Great. Now let's go ahead and remove Horace again. Run it again. We get an error message, but it didn't clobber Horace. Horace is still there. So those are the two ideas I just wanted you to kind of get the idea. We're not saying goodbye to try and catch. I guess I could have, in theory, thrown these two method calls into the try, but I really did want to focus the error on this particular method. And I could have also done one of those catch-all things as well at the end and use that stack trace and all that kind of stuff to help if there had been another problem besides file not found, right? Maybe there could have been a permissions problem or something. But just, as you mature in this technology, remember look for ways to for these handlers to step in, and then look for logical ways to kind of control the flow of your program. What we're going to do in the next video is we're going to go a little bit beyond this now, and actually it's still going to be a read write, but we're going to read in actual records and write them out, and we're actually going to use a class. We're going to make our own class for that. All right, so that should be fun.